So I'm recording this piece on 6th of July, and it is also the 90th birthday of the 14th Dalai Lama. And today I recollect a 10-day trip to the Dhauladhar mountains in Himachal Pradesh. And as the trip was coming to an end, we struck base at Dharamshala. Dharamshala has a spectacular setting along the spur of the Dhauladhar range, varying in height from 1,250 meters in the lower bazaar to 1,768 at McLeodganj. And it is this upper part that attracts the majority of visitors. All paths here seem to lead to just one address, the revered home of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, and it attracts tourists and diplomats alike. So, my name is Sangeeta Venkatesh, and a very warm welcome to my channel. And if you're new to this channel, please feel free to explore and do subscribe to the channel if you find topics such as travel, temples, culture, heritage interesting. I do a lot of research and I try to get you the most authentic information. So, McLeodganj is a hill station, and it was established by the British between 1815 and 1817, and it remained a minor town until um, Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama, settled here after the Chinese invasion of Tibet in October 1959. And along with his members of his family and the government, the Tibetan government, he journeyed from Lhasa to the Indian border of Tawang, where he was welcomed by the Indian government. And eventually, the group settled in McLeodganj, and it has been the center of the Tibetan community in exile. Of course, there are other settlements throughout the country. For instance, in near Coorg, somewhere near, it's on the North Karnataka highway, you do find communities also settling there. But this is, of course, very well known and is home to the Dalai Lama. Now, McLeodganj is now, of course, like I said, now home to the Tibetan government in exile, making it the symbolic capital of a people who have carried their identity with resilience and grace far from their homeland. Although the center of McLeodganj has become overdeveloped and crowded, it is still surrounded by beautiful forests, and you can find great views of the Kangra Valley and the Shivalik ranges. Now, this small mountain town is often called the Little Lhasa, and you can find, of course, there is the blend of Tibetan traditions and Indian hospitalities, and the streets hum with chants and the clinking of prayer wheels. There are Tibetan eateries galore, and we stepped into one just opposite the Namgyal temple that beckoned to us with the hot tuppa and the nutty richness of butter tea. And from the vantage point, you could see the maroon and saffron robed monks move through the narrow lanes that seem to be throbbing with activity. Now, the Dalai Lama established the Namgyal monastery, which is commonly known as the Dalai Lama's temple. Also known as the Namgyal Tantric College, the monastery plays a vital role in assisting the Dalai Lama with complex tantric rituals rooted in centuries-old traditions. The main practices here include the Kala Chakra, Yamantaka, Chakra Samvara, Guhya Samaja, and Vajra Kilaya, each which is a deep spiritual discipline. Now, the teachings and public audiences are held in a complex which is quite difficult to pronounce, but I will try. It's called the Suklakhang complex, which is adjacent to the Namgyal monastery. It contains a large gilded bronzes of Buddha, Avalokiteshvara, and Padmasambhava. The Buddha statue is a 9-meter tall gilded statue of Buddha Sakyamuni, which is a focal point of the Suklakhang temple and a symbol of peace and compassion. The statue was consecrated by the Dalai Lama in 2005 and is made of copper, brass, and gold. The statue depicts the Buddha on the earth touching gesture, which signifies his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Now, to the left of this complex is the Kala Chakra temple. And these visits were made after we were very lucky to have the audience with His Holiness, which I will now describe. So it was a morning like no other. Our visit to the Namgyal monastery began early. At exactly 7:45 a.m., we had to report after a previous appointment at the temple office. The times were such that we had to undergo the COVID rapid test and passing through a stringent three-tier security screening. We were guided to stand in a queue with other invited guests and dignitaries. And we had to leave our phones behind as personal photography wasn't allowed, and all photos were to be taken by the official monastery photographer. One thought that really struck me was India truly stands for world peace, considering that we have given sanctuary and dignity to a group of displaced people for so many decades. And then, of course, the moment arrived. We were ushered into a into the kind of it is a quadrangle, and it's there is a shelter, for and the Dalai Lama sat there, and we were taken in, and we met His Holiness. So, what can one say about meeting a being who radiates peace and presence? His gaze was gentle, his smile full of knowing, and he greeted each of us with deep warmth, as if we weren't strangers. With a light touch and a blessing, he encouraged us to walk our paths with righteousness, clarity, and compassion. Definitely, these are not ordinary people. The aura is something so special, and the experience was beyond words, humbling, grounding, and soul nourishing. To be in the presence of such wisdom, to feel the force of kindness that emanates so naturally from him, was something we will carry for the rest of our lives. It wasn't just a visit, it was a moment of alignment. The Dalai Lama is regarded not just as a spiritual leader but as a living Buddhist sattva, an emanation of Avalokiteshvara, or as he is known as Chenrezig in Tibetan, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Now, the Dalai Lama was also a monk of the Gelug school, the youngest of the Tibetan Buddhist schools. And until his exile, he also held temporal authority in Tibet under the Ganden Phodrang government. Now, His Holiness is known around the world for his teachings that transcend religion. He champions peace, interfaith dialogue, environmental sustainability, neuroscience, women's rights, and compassion in action. In 1989, his efforts were recognized globally when he was awarded the very well deserved Nobel Peace Prize. And today, as he turns 90, I'm sure the good Lord above will continue to give him strength to lead and comfort his people. So, with that, I end this video today. I hope you enjoyed and got some insights about what would entail if you had to go to Dharamshala, to McLeodganj to visit His Holiness. Please do like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. So until next time, this is Sangeeta Venkatesh signing off. Namaste.